Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the MALLORCA Connection. And I am still so excited about our amazing, epic launch party that we had yesterday. I hope you had an opportunity to drop in, and if not, please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. My co-host and friend is here with us, as always, for the MALLORCA Connection, because he is the connection. His name is Roland Friedl. He is an expert business strategist and coach. He's a serial entrepreneur, and he is joining us right now. Welcome.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm great, and still, so excited, still having this burning desire to go forward. It was so amazing yesterday's launch event. Highly appreciate it. It was really cool seeing all these colleagues and their content and what they're giving to the world. Just amazing. So congratulations, what you build up.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, as you know, it takes a team, it takes an army, it takes a village, whatever it takes. We've got an incredible team. I also want to give a shout out to Daphne DeLucci, who created these beautiful graphics for MALLORCA. She's just so brilliant when it comes to marketing and branding and raw media creative. So thank you to her and to Stephen Gillen. So Roland, we had some great discussions the last few shows. I am still just enamored and in awe about smart goal setting. And I just really want to thank you for educating our audience about a small part of all the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I mean, this is what I'm doing on a daily basis. And it's my own experience. Because I only teach what I experience myself, and it's not just copying something. So I try it out. Does it work for me? Does it work for my company? Does it work for my team? Does it work for myself? And then I teach it, because it's everything else doesn't make sense. There's so much theory on the market, but it's more about does it work, and can everybody implement it immediately and get the first results? That's so important for it.
It's really important because, as you know, there are so many distractions in life. And if it's not something that's really people can grasp onto it and say, okay, here's what it is. This is what I need to do. This is what the outcomes are going to be. Then they just lose interest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you mentioned, and I always say there's so many distractions. We want to do this. We want to focus on that. We want to we set goals, or we have a vision, an idea. And then there are so many distractions coming along. And then we drift away. And as I mentioned, if the goal you want to reach is not much larger than the obstacles and the distractions on the way, you will lose it. You will give up. Absolutely.
Definitely. And I know you have a fabulous guest backstage. Before we bring him out, I was wondering if you would just do us the honor of sharing again about the crystal and rubber balls, because I think that this is just so important. It really stuck with me, and I want everybody to hear about it.
Okay, look, I guess my guest will speak later bit of some other balls, but the crystal balls and the rubber balls, yeah, they're part of the so-called happiness circles. And as I mentioned in the interview, I guess 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago already, and the first of the 3 episodes, it's not coming from myself. I found it years ago, and I found it so interesting, and I saw myself inside. So the happiness circle says, what you need, or what do we have to focus on to have a happy, fulfilled life. And this happiness circle has 6 areas, and 3 are called the so-called crystal balls, and 3 are called the so-called rubber balls. And as I explained in the interview before, when you drop a rubber ball always bounces back. The crystal ball, when it falls down, it breaks. So meaning you have to take care more about the crystal balls than the rubber balls, and they're connected. So what are the rubber balls to have a happy life? The rubber balls, they always bounce back, but unfortunately, most people focus on the rubber balls and not on the crystal balls because they're trained they're influenced by influencers or by commercials or by the industry. They want us to focus on that, but I guess that's the wrong approach. So the rubber balls are lifestyle, income, and career. And most people focus on this. They're so afraid to lose their income. They're so afraid to give up their lifestyle. They're so afraid when they can make the career, when they lose their jobs or whatever it is. But I think this is the wrong approach. It's much better to focus on the crystal balls, because the rubber balls, when they break down, you lose your job, your income goes down, or your lifestyle, maybe you can't afford it anymore. You can only say stop, reinvent yourself, refocus yourself, reconnect yourself, and build it up again. But if you lose your crystal balls when they fall down and you don't take care, then you really have a challenge in your life, and it's difficult. So what are the crystal balls? The crystal balls is health. Most important thing. If you don't healthy, it's really challenging. It's health, it's relationships, good relationship, a relationship to yourself, a relationship to your partner, to your kids, to your friends, to your colleagues, whatever. They have good relationships and a good network. And the third one is, I guess it's very important, the third crystal ball is personal development, working on yourself. In my opinion, the best investment you can make. So my question is, if you help, or I challenge you, if you're not in a good health, who cares about the income and the money you're making? Okay? If you don't have good relationships, if you don't have a beloved on your side, if you don't have good friends, what about the lifestyle? You're sitting alone in your big house, you're sitting alone in your fancy car, you're sitting alone in your boat or whatever it is. So focus on relationship, and then you can enjoy your lifestyle. And the second is career. Without personal development, you will never make any career. So as a summary, focus on the crystal balls, which is your health, your relationships, and your personal development. And when this is in good order, when you focus there, then everything else, the rubber balls, will be an impact. So meaning they will also grow. And if something is happening, maybe from your own fault or something that it's not under your power, you can't influence it, you lose your job, or lifestyle is going down, or I don't know, you get divorced and lose half of your property or whatever it is, and you in good health, you have good relationships, you have to ask friends friends who can support you, you have family in the background that give you strength, you work on yourself, maybe you learn new skills, then you can build up your career again, you can build up your income, and you can build up your lifestyle. That's a short summary. So focus on the crystal balls.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us again. So much meaning and so powerful. And I know our guest backstage might be talking about, as you mentioned, some other kind of ball. So I'm interested to get him out of here. Can you do an introduction for Aaron, please?
Yeah, sure. As you know, besides my different businesses where we support organizations and their leaders with coaching, consulting, sparring, with individual coaches, people who want to live independently, work independently. I started a platform called Sparring for Men, where we meet twice a month. Twice a month, we have a US group or an English-speaking group, mostly Americans, and we have a European German-speaking group. So I'm very interested in masculinity, because that's what's missing in our society. And by this, I joined a seminar, I guess it was last year, by Lion Galvan. I did some research, and I found Aaron Kleinerman, his website, what he's doing, and I guess he does an amazing job, what he's doing together with his wife with the seminars, because it's so important that men get back to masculinity. And he launched a new book actually a few weeks ago. I guess he hopefully will introduce to our books. And I say, okay, I want to bring him on the show because he has so much value to bring to the society. Because, you know, when you train men on masculinity, so they have a more happy, more purposeful life, it has an impact on the whole environment, you know, on their beloved ones, on their kids, other family members, colleagues, business. So it has an amazing impact when men start working on themselves. And as I told you in previous shows, like my own experience, it changes everything. So I'm very, very happy that it takes the time and is connected to us from, I guess, from Austin, Texas. But I will talk about more. And I'm very, very happy that he will share, his wisdom, what he learned, what his experiences, his own experiences, and the experience he gathered maybe from his delegates. So I'm very happy to have him here on the show.
All right, let's welcome him to the program. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, nice to be here.
Hi, Aaron. Great to see you, man.
Nice to have you. So, Aaron, you're joining us from Texas?
I'm in Austin, in Texas. Yep.
Oh my gosh, I have so many wonderful friends in Texas, specifically Austin. One of our team members, Diane Floyd Beam. So that's fantastic. I'll connect you guys afterwards.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I'm loving the fact that you're here today. When I was putting together the promo for this show, I thought how interesting all these areas that come together, and you're sort of the guru. And so I'm wondering, can you share with our audience, how did you get started down this path, and why is masculinity, like what Roland was talking about, why is it so important, and why today?
Yeah, lots to share in that. I mean, my background actually is as a ship's captain, a merchant mariner by trade. So I spent many years working out at sea, operating large ocean liners, cruise ships, container ships around the world. Always had a love for human behavior. I say I went from navigating ships to navigating souls. And I did a master's in spiritual psychology in my early 20s and really just dove deep into the deeper meanings of why are we here and what's the purpose of this human experience and why have we incarnated. And I've had some incredible mentors come into my life, and what I've noticed in the last 8 to 10 years, really deep diving into the field of Tantra and more encapsulating the entirety of the human experience, is that especially men and just beings in general, we tend to hold a lot of trauma, a lot of incapacity to experience the fullness of our being, and that's more held at the base, more held at the lower chakras, if you will. So, and working with masculinity as well as working in the field of Tantra, it's really holding a container that all parts of somebody can be welcome. There's something we say often where it's like, all of you is welcome here. That means the wild, the crazy, the sad, the angry, the upset. There's divinity inside of all of existence. And I feel when I was first working in the self-development field over 15 years ago, teaching a lot from stage, I was working for a self-development publishing company at the time. And, there's a lot around mindfulness and how to balance and equilibrate thoughts, perceptions, and beliefs. But the lower emotional body, sexual body, wasn't always really addressed very well. So, one of the things that I really love to do is support individuals to have a space where all of their insecurities and all of their issues around sex, money, and power can be more effectively addressed and can activate more of an embodied true power inside of them. So that's really a lot of the work that I'm working on and moving through. I hold retreats and workshops for and the academy that I run with my last partner. I run my own retreats. I also work for a couple other organizations. So this is really the world and the life that I incorporate each and every day.
Aaron,
I have to just applause, because I love that, navigating ships and navigating souls. That is brilliant.
Absolutely. What is the main difference between navigating ships and navigating souls in one phrase?
Not that much. It's funny, when I was operating the cruise ship for a while, sometimes we would go by other container ships and other ships that didn't have humans on it, and people would be like, I actually like that my cargo doesn't talk to me. There's something about that, but in truth, it's like the way that we work with our wheelhouse, the way that we work with our own inner game, the way that we have all of these balanced ways of observing the world. The analogy I like to look is, often on a ship, you'll have a navigator and a co-navigator. And the co-navigator is assimilating information, the wind, the tide, the currents, the next port of call, all of that. And the navigator takes all of that and makes a decision of left 20 or slow down or whatever the trajectory is. For a lot of people, the co-navigator is the heart and the mind is the navigator. I like to make this switch. And that was a big piece of this book, is supporting men to go from their head into their heart. So when the heart becomes the navigator, when the heart becomes the way in which decision making is happening, then it's literally opening up new neural pathways from the mind to the heart, which can make a different trajectory of possibility in terms of how somebody's living in alignment with their soul. Now, I say the word soul. Soul is really the place where the heart's energy is in most congruency. So you could say we're in this bioelectric magnetic flesh suit moving through life, but there's a soul inside of us that will incarnate, that will shift, that will go beyond just this human flesh suit. So to really align more deeply to the essence of the soul means that I have to know how to master the human experience. So the similarity is to master a vessel. I know all of the different machinery and all of the different ways that vessel is going to move. Similar in this human body vessel, I need to know how my mind works. I need to know how my heart can open itself and not close down, and also how to move my emotional body. How do I have emotional maturity as a man, as a being on this planet? And then, lastly, how can I utilize my sexual energy, not just as a 2 or 3 second ejaculatory sneeze, but rather as a healing modality that's going to connect me more deeply to God.
Okay.
So there's a lot there.
It's huge. We could spend a whole week on that. So a question I have for you, when you're working with people and people are coming to you and they're not necessarily in touch with their heart or their soul, it seems like there's a lot of work that has to be done there. What are some of the challenges that you have found with people who are not open?
Well, the very place of being open is being willing to even open a book called The Embodied Man. Like, that takes a certain level of willingness. What I find supports people in that willingness is usually, especially for men, something has fallen apart. They've been divorced, they've lost their children, some life crisis has happened where finally they're faced with this massive brick wall that's in front of them, and they're like, well, I can't seem to push this thing any further. I need to ask for support. And that's a really challenging thing, especially for a lot of male bodies. So what supports somebody to not need to get to that crisis moment is beginning to just have deeper inner check-ins. Inner check-ins means, am I actually living my life in an inspired way? Am I just going through the motions, or am I actually feeling alive and juicy and appreciative of the world around me? Because if gratitude isn't a part, so really an answer to that is you start with gratitude. If you're listening to this right now and you look around your current sphere of world, can you be grateful for where you are here and now? And if you cannot, then what questions can you ask yourself of, how can I be more grateful? How can I appreciate that I have a roof over my head, that I have food on my table, that I have the capacity to share my wisdom, my love with the world, with my partner, with my family, with my beloved? Turn to the energetics of gratitude, and from gratitude, everything begins to change. The chapter 5 in the book is called Discovering True Gratitude. And it's really a place of returning to that basic framework of, can I be grateful for what is in my life right now? So somebody who is just beginning to wake up, just beginning to look at life a little bit differently, looking in their world and saying, can I find gratitude in this moment? And then the areas where you can't find gratitude, then that's where challenges, and that's where the school of inner work can begin to happen. Because as this bioelectric magnetic being, we have attracted the people, places, and experiences into our life that are actually wanting us to evolve and grow. So really a big transitioning moment for people is shifting from being the victim of circumstance to being an inspired leader of choice. And that requires the capacity to utilize the world as a reflection of everything that's on the outside is things that's happening on the inside. And again, that starts just by beginning to take self-inquiry to what's actually happening in the world around you.
Absolutely.
That was brilliant.
Aaron, you mentioned trauma, and do you think it's just this generation of men who are so traumatized, so wounded, so hopeless, insecure, or what's going on with men?
Well,
actually, there's a German singer. She has a very famous song, actually in German, but when you translate it, the song is called "Female Stellung," and she sings, "I can see so many men, but I don't see any balls." What's happening to men and their masculinity? What happened? Is it a society problem? Is it an education problem? Is it a religious problem? What happened?
I think there's many sides to that. For one, when you speak about trauma and the masculine, and I'm going to say a few things that might be a little controversial, the most unhealthy feminine is in a man's body. So when we often speak about the feminine, we think about female bodies, and I'm in a male body, but there's a feminine essence alive inside of me. I'm just there's a masculine and feminine polarity within me. So when I say that the most unhealthy feminine essence is actually inside of a male body, imagine that from the lifetime of a man's body, he's had this feminine essence inside of him that hasn't been seen, that hasn't been loved, that hasn't been acknowledged. Big boys don't cry, put on the happy face. You're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to, to express. So the trauma that's often held inside of men's bodies is that there's never been a healthy place for emotional expression. And then what the other thing that happens is that as men access more of their primal penetrative power, there's not a lot of places where men have a chance to express that primal penetrative power in a healthy way. Because if we look upon the planet, if I look at more of the darker masculine energies, which people often associate to raping, destroying, destructing, that often has a negative connotation. And now actually, when you can penetrate with love, when you can destroy anything in a bedroom or a boardroom that's not love, then you're actually beginning to access a deeper, powerful, penetrative power inside of you as a man that cannot be accessed any other place. So the trauma that often exists inside of a man's body is not having a chance for the totality of him to be fully expressed. And I'll share an example. I remember years ago, I used to live and spend a lot of time down in Australia, and I was running a weekend workshop there. And the Saturday was all women. I was running there with a female friend of mine. It was all women who came, and they were deep in their spiritual journey, and they wanted to grow, and they wanted to evolve, and it's beautiful. And on Sunday, we had the same setup, but it was going to be for men. And pretty much every single one of these men who were there were like right out of the coal mines, and they were very like Australian ocker, like alpha. I take care of things. The thought of going to a transformational tantra workshop would be like, no, thank you. But their wives pretty much said, you have to go. So they all showed up. So we're there on Sunday morning, and I led them into a meditation. And within 10 to 15 minutes of leading these men into a meditation, every single male body in that room was crying. Now, I didn't have the objective to say, I want to make you cry. I created a container that allowed for their deeper tenderness to be revealed. And in that deeper tenderness, they were able to access, and they felt the safety to allow that expression to be there without judgment. So the reason that often men don't have a capacity to emotionally express is because for most of their life, their emotions were judged and ridiculed and blamed and shamed. The shift around that is opening places where all of them is welcome. And as all of them are welcome, then they can actually begin to access the both polarities inside of them. And as both polarities are accessed, then their masculinity comes on stronger, more clear, more direct, more on purpose, more alive and full than ever before, because they're beginning to know thyself even deeper, as Hippocrates would say.
Okay. So meaning men can go the same way, express women, but they need a safe, loving environment where they feel safe.
They need a safe place to go into their everythingness. and not just their nothingness. There's a meditation I have in the book called Everythingness and Nothingness, meaning that often men on a spiritual path tend to ascend into more of a cosmic, I am one with everything and the world is infinite and beautiful. But actually, if we look at Pachamama, if we look at Gaia, if we look at the earth, she's everything. She's the wind and the weather and the tide and the currents and swirling around and moving through. So if in a male body, I only know nothingness, then I only know one piece of it. I need to know the crazy bitch inside of me as well. Because if I don't know the crazy one inside of me, then I'm just going to project her onto every woman that comes into my life. So when I know this crazy one and I can appreciate the crazy one, then I have less judgment, ridicule, and blame and shame on the outside.
Yeah. Aaron, I'm a man too, and I'm very much in my brain with all my companies I'm running and the stuff I'm doing. And many years, somebody told me, Roland, the most challenging and the longest journey you can do is traveling from your brain to your heart. Can you explain our male audience why it's so important to get into the heart? I remember I was reading a book, the Heart Code, and I learned so much that we have emotions in the heart, and maybe our heart is much more exciting in science than the brain, but we've always been so brain focused. Can you talk a little bit about the heart and the man's heart especially?
Yeah, for sure. And that what you're saying is actually one of the strongest intentions for bringing this book out into the world, is to support more of the male population to go from their head into their heart. And now that journey requires, before the mind is going to neutralize, before the mind is actually going to slow down enough to open up the neural pathways to the heart, it has to know how to function and work in a effective way. That means that the mind has to begin to notice inside of day-to-day life the dynamic balance between kindness and cruelty, between naughty and nice, between good and bad. Because the mind is never going to relax more if it's only seeing a half perception of belief. So the way that the man goes from the mind to the heart is actually first beginning to bring more balance, equanimity, a deeper appreciation of both sides of the human experience. Once that moment happens, and you can see, and the example of that is often people hold on to something for so long as being quote unquote negative until we've learned to see the positives from it. In that moment, when we've equilibrated the charge of something only being negative, and we're back into a moment where we see both sides, literally at that split second in time, as quantum physics will say, the neural pathways of the heart begin to open, and we can begin to soften and expand ourselves into the moment in which we're living in. So the way that happens is beginning to let go of, neutralize, and release the limiting beliefs and the stories of the past. The first chapter in the book, Embodied Man, is unraveling the story. You have to learn to unravel the story and then master the mind. Once the story has been unraveled, the mind has been more mastered, then there's a spaciousness of the emotional body that just can begin to be accessed in a way that feels safe. So for those business-oriented men that are often just going in the world through logic, reason, understanding, and always trying to figure things out, I understand that. I'm a very intellectually driven individual. And by diving deeper into my intellect than ever before, it's actually opened up places where I've been able to surrender into the mystery of my body. And surrendering into the mystery of my body means that I let go of the need to control the outside world. As I let go of the need to control the outside world, it's going to feel uncomfortable. That's part of the journey, the transformational journey, is being able to lean into the uncomfortable places and to say, hey, here I am. I'm okay with the uncomfortability. I'm okay with not needing to know how to be, and I can surrender into the mystery, which is really the feminine of this body. And I'll speak through my own example. as a maritime military officer, when I met this field of Tantra, I was like, there's no way I'm going to surrender into the mystery of my femininity. What are you, nuts? Are you crazy? But the more that I was led into practices and rituals and ceremonies and opportunities where I could lean in a safe way, then I began to expand the power to which I was actually able to hold, which is what I lean into in chapter 9 of the book, True Embodied Power. True embodied power doesn't come from the mind. We're done in the world where the mind is controlling everything. What we're birthing is a deeper feminine leadership, a feminine-led world that understands intuition, appreciates structure, form, and rigidity of the masculine, but then knows how to move and dance and awaken and enliven through the everythingness of the water that moves through us as that feminine element. So we need both, and we need to know how to ask the right questions to our mind so that our heart can begin to open more and more.
Absolutely. My experience is when I do coaching with C levels, so CEOs from international companies, and we have a eye-to-eye conversation, not in a group, because in a group, men are very competitive. When I have a face-to-face conversation, then most of them tell me that they're really empty, absolutely empty. They don't feel good, and they know it, but they don't know how to express it, and they're afraid to express it. So what they do is, they fill this emptiness with different kinds of addictions, working like crazy, self-distraction, or doing sports like crazy. Not just enjoying a relaxing walk or jog in the forest. No, it has to be a marathon or ultra marathon. They're doing extreme sport, meaning hurting themselves, or they get another distractions by any other addiction like eating, overeating, alcohol, other drugs. Or, and this is my experience, what I heard in my men's group is addicted to porn. Can you tell us a little bit why are men so addicted to porn, and how to bring them away, to really get, because you speak about mastering your masculinity in your head, your heart, and your balls, how to bring them back to a healthy sexuality.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the conversation of addictions can probably be an entire book in of itself, especially for men. Maybe I'll write that. Addictions are often the Band-Aid that we're putting over something instead of actually going to the source of the issue. So, one of several of the addictions that I've moved through in my own life, when I was young, what I turned to is alcohol. Alcohol was just what I reached for because there was so much numbness, confusion, frustration from the world I grew up in, from watching my parents go bankrupt, through seeing my dad live out of his car, through not having enough, money to pay the rent and to have lights on and no electricity and so many different things. And the list goes on and on and on. So I turned to alcohol because the alcohol numbed all of the things that were inside of me that I didn't know how to have a healthy expression of. And then that definitely, as I woke up more and more of my sexuality, when you when you sign on board a ship, they will show you your stateroom. They will show you, where you're working. They'll show you where you eat. And then they'll say, how big is your porn collection? So that's often the world that I lived in when I was working out at sea. So I definitely had my own addiction to porn in many ways. It was what porn I see at the absolute source. It's a way of having control, and it's a way of allowing the body to feel a lot for about a 2 or 3 second moment. And the man has control over that. So the reason that men often turn towards porn is because there's a numbing of senses, and there isn't a place of actually knowing how to circulate energy through the body. So instead of actually slowing down to feel more deeply, they're reaching for an external stimulus to get the stimulus that they don't know how to know within themselves. And I say this again, and I'll return to this place of knowing thyself and knowing a man's own inner feminine, the more that I've gotten in touch with my own body, and I can bring loving touch to my body, and I can self-pleasure in a way that's not going towards agenda, and there's not some place I'm trying to arrive to, then I'm beginning to explore my body in a safe way that doesn't need to race towards an ejaculatory orgasm. And what addictions, especially porn addiction, is normally doing is it's like, I'm gonna slow down enough in this moment, reach for an external stimulus because there's so much happening in my life, and this is a moment where I can actually feel really deeply and completely just for a moment, and then forget it all and just go back into doing. What if a man who wants to be multi-orgasmic and a man who wants to let go of their porn addiction, they have to first, in that moment when they're reaching for the external stimulus, when they're reaching for the drink, when they're reaching for porn, when they're reaching for the next big adrenaline high, asking themselves in that moment, what is it that this addiction is feeding that I'm not willing to feel? And that's a very challenging, difficult moment to pause. And for a lot of beings, they're going to spend their entire life not able to do that pause. And that's okay. But if you're listening to this and you want a different change in the trajectory of your life and how you're showing up, then in that moment when you reach for the drink, when you reach for that new porn show that you've been wanting to, just slow down, take a deep breath in, let out some sound, and ask yourself, can I just be here in this moment and be present to whatever I'm feeling without needing to go anywhere else? Can I be present to the sensation and the experience that's arriving in my body without needing to outsource it in any way? And that might bring up a whole storm of feelings, of challenges, of memories, of all the things, because normally the world that we grow up in doesn't give us permission to slow down in that way. As female bodies, as male bodies, absolutely not. We're told and we're taught to go do and create and to go and be the one that's always creating and doing and making things happen. So to slow down enough to feel deeply requires courage. Back to what I said before, it requires a willingness. And it requires, and part of my intention in writing this book was to have a place that could just be an initial seed, an initial place where man can just begin to, I've been hearing about some of these different concepts, and I want a place where I can have practices and I can have areas that I can begin to learn more effectively how to show up as a stronger, more powerful, more dynamic, more connected to both yin and yang energies inside the body. And, you know, it's after years of research and working one-on-one with clients, you know, through the last 15 years that I've brought this together to support men, especially to go directly at the source of that addiction and to stop putting a Band-Aid over it.
Okay, thank you. Aaron, can you explain to our female audience, because we're talking about men, how their life or their relationship will benefit when their men work on the dark sides, when facing the addiction, when they work with you, what positive impact it has on their lives, and why they should encourage the men? Because I guess mostly it's women who encourage the men to go to join a group or read a book. So can you talk to our female audience about the positive impact, how the relationship will be, and how to benefit from this man?
Absolutely. And there's something I want to address before I speak into that, because I get every day in my inbox messages from women saying, I want my guy to read your book, and I want him to wake up, and how do I help him, and what do I do? And one of the best things that you can do as a female body listening to this is begin to express loving acceptance. Because every part of you that wants him to change isn't actually loving him for who he is. Yeah. You cannot make somebody change until you love who they are. and we fall in love with the potential of who we want our partner to be. Look your partner in the eyes, in the bedroom, at the dining room table today, and just say, I love you, who you are. If they change, beautiful, and you love that change, but trying to make them to change, do this and read this thing and make this happen. The man's like, fuck off. You're driving me nuts, woman. What are you doing? And I'm sure many men right now listening can relate to that. All they want to do is just be lovingly appreciated and accepted for who they are. Once they're lovingly accepted for who they are, then in that moment, they're like, oh, she's not trying to make me change anymore. Then something shifts and he's like, oh, then I can have the sovereign choice inside of me to want to change, to want to be different. And that's where the willingness comes in. When somebody's force feeding you and saying, this is what you need, it's like, whoa, no, I don't need anything. I see this all the time in, I have women reach out to me she's like, I want to do couple sessions and I want to do deeper work with my partner. And the first thing I asked her is, have you had this conversation with him? She's like, well, no, I need to talk to you first. I'm like, you need to talk to him first. It's like, I can't do anything. I can't, force the tube down his throat. It's just that I'm just going to be the exact culprit of what he doesn't like. So again, I wrote this book for that exact place because it's storytelling. It's not just a self-development book. It's like storytelling. It's like some of my wild sexual exploits in the world and all the things where I've failed miserably. And then inside of that storytelling, it's learning, oh, this is the practice that's going to support that. So in answer to your question, what's going to support more positive connection, especially in relating, starts with complete loving acceptance. It starts with just saying, I love you, I appreciate you. Can we go deep together? Can we have an honest, transparent conversation about where we're really at? I think that it will change so much, because whether it's the man or the woman, people are often relating to each other in a place that they're not actually being here and now, as Ram Dass says, like, be here now. Not 10 years from now, not next week, not last week, still frustrated that he didn't take out the garbage. Be here now and feeling all of the emotional body. And one other thing I will speak to, especially female bodies, my last partnership, my last relationship, and we run Embodied Awakening Academy now. That was the first woman I had ever been in a relationship with who knew how to take responsibility for her emotional body. Now, what did that mean? When we first got into an argument, after our romance phase ended and we were like, okay, now life begins and things started to happen, I watched her in that first argument. Instead of what I thought was going to happen was I was going to go on my defenses. Uh-oh, the crazy one's a little pissed off. How do I handle this bombarding of attacking and boom, boom. I watched her take herself out of the room, move her emotional body on in a healthy, sovereign, safe way. And then after that, probably about a 10 or 15 minute process, she came back to me and we had clear, conscious conversation. Now, what happened in that moment? I want to explain this a little bit more thorough. In that moment, she was having a healthy emotional reaction. She wasn't blaming, shaming, and condemning me and saying, oh, you made me feel this way. She said, I'm upset because, and then she moved it. She knows that that situation reminded her of something in the past that she had not felt completely and deeply. So she moved her emotional body, and then she came back and we had beautiful, clearing conversation. And another moment, probably a couple months later, we both had emotional upset. We beat the pillows together. We turned to each other, and then we had beautiful lovemaking for several hours. That's one aspect of emotional responsibility. The other piece of that is she was setting the example for my own feminine about how to move her emotional body. And that was a huge reflective learning. And those two pieces, if women can receive both of those, their relating is going to change tremendously and drastically.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
I have so many questions and comments that I would love to have you back because we've run out of time. I hope you'll join us again. One thing I just want to share, and I'm sure there are other women out there, and maybe you can come back and talk to me about this, but I have found through taking voice lessons that I am in my masculine energy almost all the time. And I'm aware of my feminine energy. I know it's there, but it very rarely comes out because I'm very much like, go, do, go, do. And when I work out, I always say, if I have a heart attack, let it be now, because I'm pushing myself to the nth degree. So I feel like I could be a good person for your book as well.
Absolutely. It's for both men and women, and it's really an integration of both masculine and feminine in an effective way that's going to make somebody a more beautiful, dynamic, alive human.
We have a comment from the lovely Daphne DeLucci. Wonderful insights. It's about giving and acceptance. Love this interview. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, so much for being here. I'm serious. I would love to have you come back again and pose some other questions to you for me personally and for our audience as well.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. And your contact information, we've been showing it throughout the show, but the best way for people to reach you, people listening on the radio, is?
The embodiedmanbook.com. You can find out, that leads to my website. You can find the book there. You can find the other courses on the website there. You can find everything that you need.
Fantastic. Thank you. We'll look forward to having you back again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prada. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Roland is a fantastic guy. Great guest.
Absolutely. He really makes an amazing contribution to making this world a better place for people and living a more, I would say, happy, healthy life and having a good, healthy sexuality, which really has an impact on so much stuff because there's less frustration, there's less addictions in the world.
And it sounds like a more balanced life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Roland, you have your new website that is up and running. Tell us a little bit about it, and for people on the radio, how do they access it?
Yeah, thank you, Jacalyn. Well, first of all, the background story of the new website is, you know, I'm so interested in so many topics, and I have a lot of experience over the years. I'm sharing with my clients on organizations, on companies, on leadership, on individual coaching, on men's group, and different other stuff. So my agency, my website agency, and my PR agency, make one website, your name, rolandfriedl.com. This is, I spell it, it's www.rolandfriedl.com. This is my name. So this is now my main website. I'm from, whereas you get a short introduction what I'm doing. Tomorrow we will launch the event calendar with all the events when I do the Mallorca Connection show, the Sparing for Men's group, when I teach on the university and stuff like that. But also from there, when you have a business background, you're running an organization, you are leading an organization, then from there you can link directly to my business website, to the Spartan Performance website. When you're interested in individual coaching, you can link directly from there to my coaching website. When you're a man or a woman who want that your man improves and learn about masculinity and want to be part of our tribe, of our Sparring for Men group, then you get a link there and come to Sparring for Men's group. When you need an interims manager, everything on this website is summarized, so it's much more easier. So I share this website, rolandfriedl.com, and you can contact me there, whatever your need is, and I'm very happy when we just have a chat and talk where you want to run to, how I can support you. And I also would love if you recommend us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roland. It's great seeing you, and congratulations on your website.
Thank you so much, Jacalyn. Thank you so much.
All right. See you again later.
See you soon. Thanks. Bye.
See you soon. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for engaging. We really appreciate it. And by the way, I mentioned it before, and now I know Daphne's on this incredible, beautiful background that you see she created. She is the brains behind all of the graphics that you see. Also, all of my own personal branding, the Listening Mentor, our Talking Heads, and our new websites have been developed by Roar Media Creative, and Daphne is the creative genius. So please do go over to their website, Roar Media Creative. I'm going to put it in the comments here. And Daphne and Stephen will take care of you with white gloves service. You'll be very happy. So thanks again for being here. I have a course to go teach. I'm teaching The Power of Listening, Part 3 with the beautiful Madeline Chan. So if you haven't engaged yet, you'll be able to sign up for our courses right on my website, drjacalyn.com. It will be relaunched sometime this week. In the meantime, you can go over to usaglobaltv.com and learn more about our shows. Thank you again for being here. We'll see you again real soon. And thank you again, Roland. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Daphne. Take care. Bye.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diane Floyd Bame's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, 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 kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at dianefloydbame.com.